The place was still, wrapped in a warm golden glow from the chandeliers hanging above, their light gleaming across polished glasses and perfectly folded tablecloths. It was the kind of restaurant where people spoke softly, almost afraid to disturb the calm, where even a small laugh felt out of place. Yet that evening, the quiet at one corner table carried more weight than every sound in the room combined. Edward Langston, a man in his early 30s, sat anxiously with his fingers brushing the edge of the menu again and again. Opposite him, Lila Hart lowered her gaze, her breaths shaky and uneven. Neither of them had expected to end up in this moment. Two people unknowingly caught in a cruel joke, though only one of them understood it yet. Before we move forward, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? And don't forget to like and subscribe to Blackened, Wronged for more heart-touching stories. Let's get started. His name was Edward Langston, a devoted single father who had faced more challenges in just 5 years than many experience in a lifetime. After losing his wife, Mommy, to cancer, he had taken on the full responsibility of raising his 6-year-old daughter, Laya, all by himself. Life was relentless, balancing 2 jobs, school runs, and an endless stream of bills. But Edward carried himself with a quiet dignity. He wasn't the type to complain. Instead, he smiled through the struggles, knowing that Laya's innocent eyes were always watching and learning from him. His co-workers, however, failed to see this resilience. In their eyes, Edward was just the quiet, boring dad who avoided parties and never dated anyone. They assumed he needed to loosen up and live a little. So one afternoon, driven by boredom and a poorly timed joke, they arranged for him to go on a blind date. What Edward had no idea about was that it was all a cruel prank, designed to be recorded and shared within their group chat. They had picked a kind-hearted woman, Lila Hart, someone who had spent most of her life being judged for appearances rather than her genuine heart. Lila had no clue that she was being set up. To her, it was just another chance at a real connection, a meeting where someone might finally notice her for who she truly was. That evening, Edward Langston arrived wearing his crispest white shirt, the one Laya always called his lucky shirt. Lila, meanwhile, had spent what felt like hours gathering the courage to show up. She'd faced disappointment before, been laughed at, and yet she chose to step into the restaurant with hope. But the moment she walked in and noticed 3 men chuckling from a corner, phones in hand, her chest tightened with unease. Something felt off. Behind them, the 3 men whispered and snickered, quietly capturing little videos, convinced they were witnessing just another silly moment. But something changed in the air. Edward Langston looked at Lila Hart, really looked. He didn't see what everyone else saw. He saw the layers of quiet hurt she carried, the kind that had shaped her yet never hardened her heart. There was a gentle warmth in her eyes, a kindness forged through challenges but still shining bright. Breaking the hush, Edward softly asked her about her day, her work, her hopes. Lila hesitated, unsure at first, but his genuine curiosity gently coaxed her into conversation. Soon they were sharing thoughts on books, on family, and on life's unpredictable lessons. And for the very first time that evening, Lila smiled, and it wasn't a mask. Meanwhile, the 3 men in the corner kept filming, expecting Edward Langston to finally snap once he realized it was all a prank. They thought he would storm out, furious, or make a scene in front of Lila Hart. But what happened next caught them completely off guard. After finishing their meal, Edward calmly stood, gave Lila a reassuring smile, and asked her to wait for a second. Without hesitation, he walked straight toward the table where the men sat, their smug expressions fading as he approached. Setting his phone gently on their table, he said quietly but firmly, "I see exactly what you're trying to do." One of them chuckled nervously, but Edward's voice didn't waver. It carried a quiet strength. "You thought mocking someone was harmless fun. You thought making someone feel small was entertaining. But here's the truth. The people who are often laughed at are sometimes the strongest souls you'll ever meet. Those who keep showing up, who still believe in love, who keep choosing kindness even when life hasn't been fair to them." The room went quiet. Even the soft background music seemed to disappear. Edward Langston didn't raise his voice. His words carried a calm intensity that cut deeper than any anger could. "You tried to set me up with a joke," he said, "but you ended up introducing me to one of the most genuine people I've known in years. So, thank you, because your prank didn't hurt anyone. It reminded me that real kindness is still out there." He looked back at Lila Hart, who stood there, tears glistening in her eyes. Edward Langston returned to the table, gently pulling out a chair for Lila Hart. "Let's finish our dinner," he said with a calm warmth. I'd rather spend my time with someone real than with people who don't understand what that even means. Behind him, the three men froze, their smug grins vanished. One lowered his phone, embarrassment spreading across his face. What had started as a thoughtless prank had unexpectedly become something meaningful. Edward Langston returned to the table, gently pulling out a chair for Lila Hart. "Let's finish our dinner," he said with a calm warmth. "I'd rather spend my time with someone real than with people who don't understand what that even means." Behind him, the three men froze, their smug grins vanished. One lowered his phone, embarrassment spreading across his face. What had started as a thoughtless prank had unexpectedly become something meaningful. Lila felt tears streaming down, not from sadness, but because for the first time in years, someone had truly seen her without judgment. Edward offered a soft smile and added, "You know, Lila always says that real beauty is what makes people feel safe. I think she's right." The rest of the evening passed effortlessly, the tension replaced with laughter and shared stories, revealing not just struggles, but quiet strength they both carried. Two hearts, both carrying scars from the past, found comfort in the small moments they shared that evening. By the time the dinner ended, Edward Langston nervously asked Lila Hart if he could see her again, and she nodded, her smile slightly shaking but genuine. Outside the restaurant, under the glow of the streetlight, the three men who had been recording their date quietly erased the footage from their phones. The teasing laughter that had echoed among them was replaced by an awkward silence, then an unmistakable sting of regret. Later that night, Edward walked home, reflecting on how life could twist in the strangest ways. What began as a cruel prank had unexpectedly blossomed into something real. A lesson perhaps not just for the pranksters, but for anyone watching. The next morning, he shared the story with Lila. The little girl's eyes widened as she listened, and softly she whispered, "Daddy, maybe Mommy sent her to us." Edward's lips curved into a tearful smile. "Maybe she did, sweetheart." Weeks later, Edward Langston kept running into Lila Hart more often than he could have imagined. What started as a prank by the three men slowly grew into something real, a bond built on understanding and laughter, not appearances. Months later, when the same three men saw Edward walking hand in hand with Lila by his side, they finally realized the joke had completely turned around on them. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Black and Wronged, because the world needs more. Reminders that kindness always makes a difference and love finds its way back, even when least expected. And before you leave, drop a comment below. Sometimes, even a cruel setup can spark a beautiful story that changes everyone involved forever.